You ever hear a story so crazy that it sounds like fiction? A story where a man, barely known outside basketball circles, stood toe-to-toe with Michael Jordan, the most feared competitor on the planet, and bullied him in the middle of a game. Not Reggie Miller, not Clyde Drexler, not even Dominique Wilkins. We're talking about Rex Chapman, a player many younger fans today have never even heard of. But on one unforgettable night in 1996, inside the United Center, Rex did something no one else could. He made Michael Jordan back down. He didn't just survive Jordan's wrath, he invited it, stared it dead in the eyes, and then buried jumper after jumper right over him. This wasn't supposed to happen. Jordan's Chicago Bulls were on their way to becoming the greatest team in basketball history. 72 wins, unstoppable defense, pure domination. The Miami Heat? A below-average squad, still trying to figure out who they were. And yet, on that February night, Rex Chapman, the boy wonder from Kentucky, decided to take on the greatest basketball player who ever lived and humiliate him in front of 15,000 fans. What happened next became one of the strangest, boldest, and most forgotten stories in NBA history. A night where friendship, rivalry, and pure confidence collided on the hardwood. Because this is the story of that one time Michael Jordan got bullied by his own friend. Section 1. The Legend of Rex Chapman, the NBA's wild card. Before we get to that legendary night in Chicago, we need to understand the man behind the madness, Rex Everett Chapman. If you've never heard the name, you're not alone. Rex was one of those players who existed in the strange space between cult legend and NBA mystery. A guy who could score 40 one night and go ice cold the next. He wasn't a superstar. He wasn't even an all-star. But when Rex Chapman caught fire, you couldn't look away. Born in Bowling Green, Kentucky, basketball was in his DNA. His father, Wayne Chapman, was an ABA player and hometown legend, which meant Rex grew up with a ball in his hands and competition in his blood. From high school to the University of Kentucky, Rex was a sensation, white-hot talent, movie star looks, and confidence that bordered on reckless. When the Charlotte Hornets drafted him in 1988 as their first ever pick, fans called him Boy Wonder. He wasn't afraid of the spotlight or the pressure or even the greats. He played the game like he had nothing to lose, launching deep threes in an era when three-pointers were rare, attacking the rim with flair, and putting defenders on posters. But Rex wasn't your average shooter. He had that unpredictable streak, the same energy fans would later see in players like J.R. Smith or Lance Stevenson. Missed 10 shots. Didn't matter. He'd still take the 11th with supreme confidence, because in his mind, the next one's going in. By the early 90s, Rex had built a reputation as one of the league's most fearless gunners. A player who played purely on emotion, rhythm, and guts. The kind of player coaches feared and fans loved. Little did anyone know, that same irrational confidence, that fire, was about to set the greatest player in basketball history on fire too. Section 2. Rex and Michael, the unlikely friendship. Before they ever squared off under the bright lights of the NBA, Rex Chapman and Michael Jordan shared something few people knew about. A friendship built long before the 1996 showdown. You see, Rex wasn't just another player in the league, trying to earn Jordan's respect. He already had it. Back in the mid-1980s, when Rex was a high school prodigy lighting up Kentucky gyms, Jordan was already a rising icon with the Chicago Bulls. And yet, Michael saw something in the young kid from Kentucky: confidence, swagger, and that same competitive obsession he recognized in himself. When colleges began fighting for Rex's commitment, Jordan personally picked up the phone. Imagine that, the greatest basketball player alive, calling a teenager to convince him to join his alma mater, the University of North Carolina. That's the kind of respect Rex commanded. The two shared the same agent, stayed in touch over the years, and whenever their teams met, there was always mutual admiration. Rex wasn't intimidated by Mike. and Mike, strangely, liked that. Most players melted when facing Jordan's glare, but Rex treated him like a peer, even a buddy. Off the court, they laughed, talked, and shared stories from their journeys. But between the lines, friendship meant nothing. Jordan played every game like a personal battle, and Rex, he was the kind of guy who'd gladly take that challenge head-on, even if it killed him. Their paths crossed over 20 times in the NBA, enough for Jordan to know Rex wasn't a pushover. But even then, no one could have predicted what was coming on February 23, 1996. A night when their friendly respect would turn into fierce competition, and one man would push the other further than anyone had in years. Because when a friend dares to poke the king, you'd better believe the whole world's about to watch. Section 3. The stage is set. Bulls vs. Heat, 1996. It was February 23, 1996. The Chicago Bulls were a basketball machine, 48 wins, only 5 losses, on pace to shatter every record in NBA history. Michael Jordan was at the peak of his powers. Scottie Pippen was his perfect counterpart. Dennis Rodman was dominating the boards. Every arena the Bulls entered felt like a coronation. They were rock stars, untouchable. And then came the Miami Heat, a mid-tier team sitting below 500, trying to rebuild, trying to stay relevant. No one, not a single analyst, fan, or gambler, believed the Heat had even the faintest chance. To most people, this game was just another easy win for the Bulls. But for Rex Chapman, it was something else entirely. This was his moment. The game wasn't personal for anyone else, but for Rex, it was against his friend, his idol, his measuring stick. ... From the opening tip, there was an electricity in the air. The Bulls looked confident, almost relaxed, like they'd already won. Jordan jogged onto the court with that familiar smirk, the calm swagger of a man who'd broken souls for a living. But on the other side, Chapman looked different. Focused, restless. That same irrational confidence that made him dangerous suddenly felt like destiny. The Heat came out running. Ball movement, spacing, rhythm. Rex hit his first shot, a clean jumper, off the dribble, then a 3 from the corner, then another, and another. By the time the scoreboard blinked 10 points next to his name, the crowd was murmuring. 8 minutes into the first quarter, Rex Chapman had as many points as the entire Bulls roster. Michael noticed. And like he always did when someone dared to get hot in his presence, Jordan decided to handle it himself. He picked up Rex full court. But this time, it was the wrong move. Section 4. When confidence meets the GOAT. For most players, being guarded by Michael Jordan was a death sentence. He wasn't just quick or strong, he was psychological warfare in sneakers. His eyes never left you. His hands clawed at the ball. His trash talk cut through your focus until you started missing shots you'd normally make. But that night, Rex Chapman was different. When Jordan decided to pick him up full court, the crowd leaned forward, expecting the usual outcome. A few steals, a couple of smothered possessions, and Rex fading into the background like everyone else. Instead, the opposite happened. Jordan bumped him. Foul. Rex smiled, knocked down both free throws. Next possession, MJ again, glued to his hip. Rex hit a fatal jumper right in his face. Then another. Then another. 8 minutes into the game, Chapman had 12 points, as many as the entire Bulls team combined. He wasn't afraid of Jordan. He wasn't starstruck. He was hunty. Every time Rex touched the ball, the energy in the arena shifted, a mix of disbelief and excitement. The Bulls' defense, usually so sharp, suddenly looked human. And Phil Jackson, usually calm and collected, began pacing. By the end of the first half, Rex Chapman had 24 points and 6 three-pointers. The rest of the Bulls? Only one made 3. Phil Jackson did something he rarely ever did. He told Michael Jordan to switch off. Let Steve Kerr guard Chapman. Let that sink in. The greatest defender of his generation, the most competitive man alive, had to be pulled off a guy named Rex Chapman. MJ wasn't used to being outplayed, especially not by a friend. But Rex, he was in another world that night. Every shot was falling, every move was smooth, every possession louder than the last. The Bulls were being outgunned, and for the first time all season, Michael Jordan looked mortal. Section 5. The moment that crossed the line. By halftime, Rex Chapman had done the unthinkable. He'd forced the Chicago Bulls to take Michael Jordan off him. But that wasn't the end of it. If anything, it was just the calm before the storm. Jordan was seething. The Bulls' locker room was silent, except for the scratching of tape, the squeak of shoes, and the faint sound of Phil Jackson's voice. Everyone knew what was coming. Michael didn't need to say a word. That stare said it all. When the second half began, the energy was different. Jordan was locked in, the crowd was ready, and the Bulls were about to make their push. But Rex Chapman wasn't ready to back down. Then came the moment. The play that turned a great performance into a legend. Jordan isolated near the baseline. Quick jab step, then exploded toward the rim. He had the lane, he had the step, he had the crowd rising. And just as he went airborne, Rex Chapman launched into him. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't reckless. It was personal. He wasn't about to let his friend, the greatest player alive, dunk and ignite the building. Jordan crashed out of bounds. The whistle blew. The arena gasped. The two locked eyes, nose to nose, both breathing heavy. In that instant, friendship disappeared. Rex would later say in interviews that he didn't say much, that it was just competitive instinct. But other accounts remember it differently. They say Rex looked Jordan in the eye and said, "You can't guard me. You better switch off." Whether he said it or not almost doesn't matter. Because in that moment, it looked like he did. The cameras caught the stare down. The crowd felt the tension. And for the first time in years, Michael Jordan looked like the one being tested. A friend had just challenged the king. And it wasn't over yet. Section 6. The Rex Chapman Show. After that fiery exchange, the game reached a level no one expected. Jordan had been challenged. And when Michael Jordan gets challenged, usually, the next few minutes turn into a personal horror story for whoever lit the match. But this time, the script flipped. Because Rex Chapman didn't crumble under pressure. He thrived in it. Every time Jordan or Steve Kerr got close, Rex rose higher, released quicker, and hit cleaner. The ball barely touched the rim. He wasn't just shooting, he was flowing. By the third quarter, the Heat crowd was buzzing. Every Chapman bucket was met with disbelief and laughter. The kind that says, "There's no way this is actually happening." A step-back three. Swish. A leaning fadeaway with two defenders? Swish. A double pump off-balance triple with a hand in his face? Nothing but net. The Bulls were melting down. Phil Jackson looked frustrated. Scottie Pippen stared in disbelief. Jordan clenched his jaw, refusing to show emotion, but everyone knew Rex Chapman was in complete control. At one point, the scoreboard flashed 77-59. The Heat were up nearly 20 points on the greatest team in basketball history. By the end of the third, Rex had 33 points. By the fourth, he was unstoppable, 9 of 10 from three-point range, shooting 90% from beyond the arc. The camera caught a fan on the sideline, bowing to him, literally bowing. Pat Riley couldn't hide his grin. The arena had turned into a temple, and Rex Chapman was the high priest. Then came the dagger, a double pump, off-balance three that only a man without a conscience would dare to take. Swish. The crowd erupted. The bench exploded. The Bulls, the mighty Bulls, were getting torched by a man who wasn't even supposed to make the highlight reel. When the buzzer sounded, the scoreboard told the story. Heat 113, Bulls 104. Rex Chapman, 39 points, 12 of 17 shooting, 9 three-pointers. Michael Jordan, 17 points. Disbelief written all over his face. That night, Rex didn't just win a game. He stole the spotlight from the greatest player of all time, and for one surreal evening, he became the most unstoppable man on Earth. Section 7. The Aftermath, when the giant strikes back. For most players, a performance like that would have been the highlight of their entire career, the kind of story they'd tell their grandkids. And for Rex Chapman, it was exactly that. But for Michael Jordan, it was something entirely different. See, when you embarrass any superstar, they remember. But when you embarrass Michael Jordan, he takes it personally. The following days, MJ downplayed the loss in front of reporters. Typical Jordan composure, calm, dismissive, businesslike. He had a good night, he said. We'll see him again. But those who knew him knew that behind the scenes, a fire had been lit. And sure enough, over the next few seasons, Jordan made sure that Rex Chapman paid for it. They faced each other 8 more times after that night. Jordan won all 8. Jordan won all 8. Each time he clamped down harder, talked a little more, scored a little higher. In one playoff series, the Bulls completely dismantled the Heat in a 3-game sweep. A brutal display that ended Rex's short stint in Miami. It wasn't personal anymore. It was business. Jordan's business was dominance, and no one, not even an old friend, was allowed to leave a mark on his legacy. But even through those one-sided rematches, there was always a glimmer of mutual respect. Rex had done something that almost no one else had ever managed. He'd gotten to Michael Jordan. He'd made the unshakable man feel it. That February night became a permanent part of Chapman's identity. He'd go on to have a few more strong seasons, but injuries, surgeries, and bad luck eventually slowed him down. His NBA career faded before his reputation did. Still, no matter how many times Jordan got his revenge, there would always be that one night. The night Rex Chapman looked the GOAT dead in the eye, traded punches, and for 48 minutes, won. Because sometimes, greatness isn't about how long you stay on top. It's about that single perfect moment when you shock the world, and even the greatest have no answer. Section 8. The Legacy of a Forgotten Hero. When people talk about the 1990s NBA, the same names always come up. Jordan, Pippen, Shaq, Hakeem, Barkley. Legends whose careers defined an era. But every once in a while, history hides a story about a player who burned bright for a single night, a flash of brilliance that cuts through the dominance of giants. That was Rex Chapman. For most of his career, Rex was a mystery, a man too good to be forgotten, but too inconsistent to be immortalized. He was the kind of player who belonged in highlight reels, not history books. Yet that one night in 1996 became something more than a highlight. It became a myth. It's the story of irrational confidence, the beautiful kind that refuses to bow down to greatness, the kind that makes a man say, "Yeah, I'll take that shot, even if Michael Jordan's guarding me." Section 9. Conclusion. The night Jordan got bullied. February 23rd, 1996. A date that quietly lives in basketball folklore. The night Rex Chapman made Michael Jordan look human. It wasn't about stats, records, or revenge. It was about one man's courage to challenge greatness and win, even if only for a night. Jordan would go on to capture championships and cement his immortality. Rex's name would fade into trivia and YouTube highlights. But legends aren't always measured by rings. Sometimes, they're measured by moments. And that night, under the lights of the United Center, Rex Chapman didn't just beat the Bulls. He bullied the GOAT and walked off the court with the kind of story every player dreams of telling. Section 10. Epilogue. The beauty of one perfect night. When the final buzzer sounded, Rex Chapman wasn't just another player. He was proof that on any given night, anyone can touch greatness. Basketball has always belonged to the icons, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, but it's stories like Rex's that remind us why we watch. For those rare, electric moments when belief outweighs logic and the impossible suddenly feels inevitable. Years later, fans still pull up that grainy footage, Rex hitting 9 threes, Jordan shaking his head in disbelief and smile. Because in a sport ruled by legends, one man's hot hand became history. For 48 minutes, the spotlight left the king and shone on his friend, who dared to challenge him and won.